Hello everyone, today we will use Firebase to create a simple application in which we read and write to Firebase Firestore database. So let's go into the Firebase console and let's create another project and let's enter, let's say, Compose Firebase. Let's disable this because we don't need this for a simple test project. Let's wait until it finishes. Okay, now let's hit continue and let's set up the Firebase for an Android application. So now we need the Android package name, and as you can see we can find it in the build.gradle file. So let's open Android Studio, scroll a little, and the application ID is this one. Let's simply paste it. The name of the app is additional, optional, or however you want to say it. The signing certificate is mandatory if you want to set up, let's say, Google authentication or something, so we don't do that here, maybe in a future episode. So register the application. Okay, so we need to download the file now, so hit the download button. I already downloaded it, and let's go to the Android Studio, switch to the project view. In the app package, let's simply drag the file. So refactor, let's go back here. Next, now we need to add the Firebase SDK, so let's copy this one and let's switch to the Android view. Now let's go into the build.gradle.kts from the project, paste it here, and let's also add the GMS one. So go here, paste it here, and the dependency required for Firebase, we need to add an extra dependency later to set up the Firebase Firestore, sorry. And let's also replace with a new library catalog. Let's sync, and I think we are good to go. Now let's hit build and Firestore database. Now let's create a Cloud Firestore database. So create database, database ID is default. Let's switch to Europe because I live in Europe. You can switch to your region. As you can see, you have multiple here. Let's say next, start in test mode. Okay, so let's start a collection, and let's say we want to have a cars collection. So let's say cars, hit next. Let's generate an auto ID. Let's pass an ID, which is a number. The ID is 0 and the brand is Mercedes. Mercedes Benz. Okay, hit save. Okay, so this will be our car model. So let's implement it in our application, and then we'll write some calls to write another car and to get this car or the whole collection. So let's go here, and let's also add the platform function here. Okay, let's go into UI, close this, and let's say, let's create a folder. So let's say screens, and here we will have another package, not a file. So let's say cars, and here we will have a list of cars. So let's start with the cars view model. Let's simply say car list view model. Inherit from the view model. So let's create a car list, but let's firstly create another package in the Firebase tutorial, and let's call it domain, and here we will have the model. So create a model, say car data class, and it will have an ID which is an integer, and let's put a default value of 0, and the brand which is a string, and put an empty string here. Now let's go back to the car list view model and say cars. So car list, it's okay. Let's put underline here and say mutable state flow list of car. Okay, and here is an empty list, and let's make this private, and let's also say var car list equals car list as state flow. Okay, and the car list with the underline will be updated in the view model, and we will read from the view model through this car list that is public. Okay, now let's say fun get car list, oops, and let's open the brackets. So before implementing the function, we need to add the Firebase Firestore dependency. So go in the build.gradle.kts from the app module, and let's open the docs and simply copy this and paste it here. Let's also replace with new library catalog declaration and hit sync now. Okay, now let's go back to the car list view model and let's create the db, so equals firebase dot firestore. So remember Firestore from the KTX package, and let's say db collection, and we have the cars collection, and now we need to say add snapshot listener in order to listen real time to the collection. So if an item is added, this will automatically update our list. So if the error is not null, we simply return an add snapshot listener to exit the function. Now let's check if the value is not null, and if it's not null, we simply say car list value is equal to value to objects, and this will convert the response to a car list. I noticed that I haven't added these dependencies in the project, and we need those to create the view model directly into the screen. So make sure that you have these two and this dependency with the 2.8.3. So let's go in the cars package and let's create the car list screen and hit enter. And now let's say car list screen and say view model, car list view model equals view model. Okay, let's remove these ones and say import view model. Okay, and now let's get the cars. Now let's say var cars is equal to view model car list collect a state with life cycle, and let's also say by and import the state.get value and change this to val. Okay, and now we need to write the init block here. So init get car list, and let's go back in the car list screen and let's have a lazy column in which we have content padding values 20 dp. Let's import this and let's also wrap it with a scaffold, and let's say modifier padding, and let's get the padding values from here. Padding values, the vertical arrangement will be spaced by 10 dp, and let's say items is cars and open the curly brackets. Okay, let's get the car, and now let's say row, and here we will have the id. So the car id is car.id.toString, and let's say font size 28 sp, put arguments on separate lines. So let's also make this bold, and now let's also display the car brand, so car brand. Okay, and let's also say modifier fields max width and The horizontal arrangement is space between. Now let's also add some padding inside, so vertical is 10 dp, and let's go back to the main activity and remove this block of code and call the car list screen. Let's hit run. Okay, as you can see we have the first item, so let's create another one, auto ID, and let's pass the ID as a number, let's say 1, and the brand is, let's say, Audi, and hit save, and the list got updated instantly. And now let's fetch a single item, so let's go back to Android Studio and let's create another package called package, not screen, so let's say package car. Now let's create a new Kotlin class file, and here we will create car view model, and let's implement the view model. So we'll simply have almost the same logic, so let's copy these ones and paste them here, but this will be called car, not car list. It will simply have a mutable state of a nullable car, so by default we pass null, and here we change the get car by ID. Oops, but we already know what ID we want, so I will simply hard code it here. Now let's remove the add snapshot listener, because we don't listen in real time. We simply say document, pass the document ID here, and let's say get, and let's also say add on success listener. And now we need to say, let's name this document snapshot and say document snapshot to object, and let's say car value is equal to object. Okay, and now let's create the screen, and let's say car screen and hit enter, car screen, and let's also get a view model, car view model, view model. Let's get these ones and say, oops, import view model, and now let's say box with fill max size, content alignment center, and put arguments on separate lines. Now let's simply, oops, I forgot to get the car, so val car is equal to by view model car, and simply say collect a state with lifecycle. And now we say text and pass the car ID. I will put it on in a single text, so car.id, and let's also say the car brand. Okay, let's also add a font size like 36 sp and the font weight medium. Okay, let's put the screen here, so let's say car screen, and let's hit the run button. As you can see, the brand is displayed here, and let's also try to write something. So let's go in the car list view model, and let's make this private, and let's create another function, create car brand, car, not car brand, because it's a car object. And let's say, let's make this for the whole view model, so private val, and remove it from here, and let's say db collection cars. Now let's say add, and now we need to create a hash map to send it to the Firestore. So let's say car is equal to hash map of, let's say ID 2, and the brand is, let's say Mitsubishi, bishim, and pass it the hash map here. And let's also add on success listener, and when the list is the document is created, we simply say document, let's say created, and let's go into the car list and let's append a button here. So item button, let's say create new car, and we simply say view model, create car, and let's also put it in the main activity. So we have the car list screen and hit run. Okay, so I forgot that the ID should be an integer, so let's pass an integer here, not a string, and hit run. Okay, so let's create a new car. Okay, as you can see, we have it here, and it got updated in real time because we listened to the Firebase Firestore using the snapshot listener. Now let's say we want to update the car, so let's say fun update car, and let's open the curly brackets. Let's say db collection cars document, let's say the ID, and let's say set, and let's copy this car, and let's say 4, and let's say another brand like Mazda, and pass it here car, and let's copy the add-on success. Okay, and let's say updated. Go here and let's add another button called update car, and let's say update car, hit run. We will update the car, so let's see. Okay, this one got updated and it's now Mazda with a new ID. Okay, so I hope that you like this video, and make sure to subscribe for more content like this, and see you soon.